Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday, I guess I should say. As I said before, my name is Senior Consultant Michelle Shaffer, and want to thank you for getting on the call this evening, on your Sunday evening, sharing it with us. We do this call to prepare you for your upcoming AMBIT week. We believe that the silver bullet in this business is for you to have structure in your week, where you spend 30 to 45 minutes a day doing the simple things you need to. So have your top 10 names ready, your calendars open, a pen and a piece of paper in hand so you can prepare your week right along with us. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our host. If you're not familiar with this gentleman, he is an executive in our business. He owns several Dickey's barbecue restaurants. He's also a musician and owns a music box company. He's had several businesses over the years that he's bought and sold. He's a business very well versed in business as well as in AMBIT. He's earned a 5-star trip, which is a huge monumental accomplishment. That means that out of 350,000 consultants in our business, he was one of 20 that got to go on an all-expenses trip paid with the owners and founders of the company on a vacation. And so without further ado, my dear friend, Mr. Richard Laidler.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it very much. Hello, good evening, everybody. Sunday evening, 8 o'clock. As Michelle said, thank you for getting on the call and gracing us with your presence, but also give yourself a pat on the back for making the effort to learn about how to build your business properly. It's very simple to build an AMBIT business. It's very simple to do it right, but it's also so simple to do wrong as well. And we lose a lot of folks from this business that should really have done very well, but failed to learn the fundamentals they needed to build a successful business. So just to kind of, I hear we got a bunch of new people on the call from all around the country. So welcome to everybody. The purpose of this call is very functional. This call isn't about motivation. We're not trying to build you up. Hopefully you feel motivated because of the success you have because of it, but we're not telling stories here. We're giving you real functional stuff. The purpose of this call is very much to kind of turn your AMBIT business into the same structure as you have in your job, which sounds kind of mundane and kind of the opposite of why you started this business. Very often people will start a business like this because they want the freedom. They want to set their own schedule. And indeed, if you watch the business presentation, you'll see people talking about having the freedom to do what they want to do when they want to do it. But the mistake they make is that they think that they can do that from day one. What it is that you can build into that situation. You can, and once you've built a business that's giving you residual income, that's paying all your bills, whether you work or not, that's when you can have a little bit more flexibility. You can have flexibility, but that doesn't mean to say you don't do it. You still have to do it. It's just you're flexible when you're doing it. And so what this call, and this is within network marketing as an industry. People are so used to a job or education where they're told to be at a certain place at a certain time. Indeed, as children, we were told to be at school at this time. This was when our lessons were in school. This is when we took our lunch. Hold my hand when you cross the road. We've had a lifetime of being told what to do and where to be, and then we're given this wonderful paradise of an AMBIT business which says, well, just do it when you like. The only problem is that do it when you like for some people means don't do it at all. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. So the purpose of this call is to give you the structure, as Michelle was saying as we were leading up to this call, is to give you structure in your week. Because I pretty much could guess that 95% of people on this call have some kind of job or are in a business of their own and already have or have family commitments, kids commitments, already have things that are going to be, that they're accountable for, that they've got to be at certain places at certain times. And the problem with something like AMBIT, where you don't have a boss, you don't have anybody kind of looking over your shoulder, the problem is that AMBIT doesn't get given the time that it needs. And so to go back to what I was saying was I want everybody on the call to understand that whilst AMBIT will give you the freedom that you want, you have to, in the early days, give it the same respect and the same discipline as you would give to your job. Otherwise, your growth will be very slow or non-existent. And very often when I talk to people who have not had success in a network marketing business, not necessarily just AMBIT, but any network marketing business, they'll blame the company, or they'll blame the product, or they'll blame the service, when really if they just looked in the mirror and at their calendar and where they had allocated time for their business, it was non-existent. And so without structure, their business didn't build. Also, without structure, if you have a bad day, like a diet, here's a diet. Let's say, so you're on a diet and you're eating salad every day, and then you have one day when you can't resist, and you trust me, I understand this. Those of you who know me know I'm a couple of pounds overweight, so you understand, I know this. You have a day where you go and have a pizza and it was a bit naughty and you shouldn't have done. And if you didn't have the discipline and structure of a personal trainer or someone you're accountable to, that could be the beginning of the end of that diet for you. And that's the kind of analogy we're talking about. And so something that is as special as AMBIT is, I mean, it truly is. It's not the perfect business model, but I've owned a number of businesses, and I've had failures and I've had successes, and my successes were in the seven figures. So I do know what a good business model is. Even though AMBIT isn't the perfect business model, it is the best business model I've ever been involved with. It's very simple. We help a couple of people save money on some electricity, and then we teach other people to do the same thing. It's a very simple process, what we do, but it is so simple to do that it's so simple not to do. And so we must put structure in our business, and that's what this call is all about. So the structure we're talking about is, again, for those of you who are on this call and it's your first time, the inventory in your business is your written list. This is people that you think, yeah, I'd like to show them the business and see if it makes sense to them. Not, I'm going to get those people in this business. I'm going to show you this and see if it makes sense to you. In the business plan you saw, we only need 3 consultants and help them get qualified with a couple of customers, or 3 customers if you're up in the Northeast or outside Texas. Help them get 3, help them get 3, help them get 3, and give everyone 2 or 3 customers, and you've got like $11,500 in residual income. But all you had to do was get your 3 and help them get qualified. Then you taught them to do the same thing. Their people are probably people you don't even know. So you focus on getting your 3 by 2. So 3 consultants and help them get a couple of customers each, and then duplicating it. And you'll do that because you have a system in place. And as I say, that's what this call is all about. And it starts with your written list, and that's where your inventory is. A written list of 50, 100, 200 names. The larger your inventory, the more money you'll make. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you need some help with that, there is a memory jogger, which is actually a lot of fun to use in your AMBIT Power Zone. Go into the training area and look for your memory jogger, and that'll help you, because you'll think of 20 people you want to get into the business, but then you'll think, how do I get to 100? But then there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that'll help you get more. But then what we do is we score the list based upon what we call an ERICA system, and it's an acronym for entrepreneurial, resourceful, influence, city, either local or not, and attitude. And I will score them from 1 to 3 on how entrepreneurial they are, 1 to 3 on whether they have the resources in time and money to do this business, 1 to 3 on how much influence they have. Are they a librarian and don't know anybody? Forgive me if there are any librarians out there that are huge socialites. I'm just using it as an example. Or are they a person that is a massive socialite and knows thousands of people? Are they local or not? If they're not local, I'll give them a 1. If they are local, I'll give them a 3. And whether they have a good attitude or not. And based upon that, your list will sort itself. And the people so everyone's going to get called. It's just how soon you get called. And the great thing is, when you score your list using this ERICA system, all the cream rises to the top. All the good people get to the top of your list to use. So the first people who are joining your business are probably the best people who should be joining your business. So we've got our written list. We get it scored. And then so we do that on an Excel spreadsheet because then that makes it much easier to get all the names sorted out in the order that they got scored. And then on Sunday, i.e. today, we pull the top 10 names from our list. We'll just go to our Excel spreadsheet, pick up the 10 names and drag them across, and we're going to work with those 10 names this week. And what we're going to do is, and this is what we're going to do on this call, we're going to take those 10 names and we're going to work out the perfect invite for each one of those 10 people. Now, I believe that an 18-year-old needs to be invited a different way than an 80-year-old does, or a lawyer needs to be invited a different way than a sportsman or a business owner or someone who works at Walmart. Everybody needs a different invite. And so that's what we do on this call. And again, because we only need 3, it's worthwhile putting the time into a good invite. That's truly what I believe. There are some people out there that say, no, blast through the numbers. Bam, 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 bam. Get through the numbers and the stars will rise to the top. I do not believe in that. I believe in a solid structure of getting your top 10 names down, working out the perfect invites, and you'll learn how to do that on this call. And then what we do is we plan our week. We open the calendar, as Michelle again was talking about, and we allocate 30 to 60 minutes a day. Sorry, guys, you got some work to do. When you bought your AMBIT business, you didn't buy a lottery ticket. You bought something that is going to set you free. It's about 1/10 of the work that you do in your job, but it's still work that you need to do. And we're talking about, you hear that phrase, persistent and consistent effort over time, and it is the silver bullet. But what that means is 30 to 60 minutes. And for us, 30 to 60 minutes, Monday through Friday, is 2 invitations in the day. 2 of those names that you devised a perfect invite for on Sunday, 2 of those invites you're going to do on Monday. And then 2 you're going to do on Tuesday. 2 you're going to do on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Real simple, very manageable, something that anybody can do alongside what they're currently doing. So I do not want to hear anyone on this call say, I don't have time for this business. Yes, you do. I know there's a gentleman, Chad Crenshaw, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on this call. He does 100 hours a week as a construction worker. So he is outside physical labor 100 hours a week, and he is a very strong SC, which is the middle position in our company, striving towards the second highest position in our company. You do have time, but you'll only find the time if you allocate it. Okay, so here's what we're doing, the 2 calls a day, but then the additional thing that we do each day is the accountability call. And that is where you will, for those of you who are new, find yourself an accountability partner. It's most likely going to be the person who brought you into the business, your sponsor, but it doesn't have to be. It can be somebody cross-line, and there's a lot of people in my team that don't use me as their accountability partner. They'll use someone cross-line or even downline or whatever, just people to be accountable for. So you've got someone to talk to at the end of that day about the 2 calls or the 2 invites you made that day. So top 10, so you've got your written list, top 10 names from the scored list. We prepare the perfect invites, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 invites, 1 accountability call. 2 invites, 1 accountability call, and that's what we do. The next Sunday, we go through our list, we debrief. The people who are yes, we plug into the same system. The people who are maybes, we validate them to find out if they really are a maybe and becoming a yes, or just really a no and they're just trying to be nice. We don't want that. We want to make it easy for them to be able to step aside, no problem. And for those who are no, not yet, we put them on a purge list or on a drip list to give them a call back in 3 to 6 months and see if things have changed. And that's the system, week after week after week after week. And remember, you only need to find 3 people who are like you. So it's a very simple system. It's very structured, and it works. Every single one of the victims, and I use the word victim lightly, it's a bit of fun, but it's a volunteer. It's one of the consultants, either in my team or someone else's team. Every one of them who is my volunteer/victim for the week has their best week or one of their best weeks in their AMBIT business that they've ever had. Not because of any other reason other than they made 2 calls and 1 accountability call a day. 2 calls, 1 accountability call a day. you'll find your three, and that's how it works, and that's what this call is all about. Now, I want to get straight on with this, and I want to get into the meat of this, so I need to bring on my this week's brand new victim, and I'm very excited to work with this person because you all know and love her. You don't love her as much as I do because she's my special little bunny, but I've watched this girl grow right from the very, very beginning. She is a very strong senior consultant. She regularly will have a week of making a comma in her check, and that's the weekly check. She will regularly have a weekly check with a comma in it. She is known to all of you because she is the MC on these calls. She also is my favorite senior consultant in my team. And I'm just kidding. I love all my senior consultants in my team. But I've got to say it because she's on the call. She gets upset. Just don't tell her. She gets upset. Bless her. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce senior consultant Miss Michelle Shaffer. Are you there, Michelle?
I am here, Richard.
I have waited for so long to be able to victimize you on this call. So anyway, all right. So let's dive straight on in.
You've been waiting behind the curtains to victimize me.
Well, I just think it's perfect. You're certainly in a place in your business where this purge week for you will be a real good launching pad. No matter how well one's doing in their business, we constantly need that little shove, that little push to keep us going, to keep us moving forward. So I know you're very much ready for that. But let's dive straight on in. Michelle, for those of you who, again, I heard a number of new people on the call. For those who don't know you, would you mind, and about a minute or so, just tell everybody how young you are, a little bit about your family, a little bit about your background, and why you're doing your AMBIT business. And let's keep it to around 60 seconds or so, maybe 90 seconds if you have time.
Okay, so basically it's probably a similar story to many people. About 4 years ago, my husband and I both got laid off at the same time, which had happened 12 years earlier. And so it took my husband about almost a full year to find another job. I had taken a job that I had 12 years previous at a 40% cut in pay because no one was going to pay me what I was currently making. And so after doing that for about a year, I was very tired of working for someone else, having a 40% cut in pay. And so I worked my senior business really, really hard. And after about a year, it was a mutual split. They really wanted someone in accounting. I was not an accountant. I had just outgrown that business and decided I was tired of working for someone else, and I wanted to decide when I was going to get paid, how I was going to get paid, and how much I was going to get paid. And so I really just, it probably wasn't the best time to let go of a real job, but I just took the leap and just did it. I knew I was a senior consultant and there was good money to be made, and I just did it. And that's where I am.
Yeah, and you are a fantastic example of an AMBIT consultant. It really hurts me to be so nice to you, but I have to because people are listening on the call. But no, you are. You're truly an example to most about the commitment in the business. But what I'm very interested to do, I think, being a victim on the call this week, it will really fine-tune a regular, because when I look at your business, and again, forgive me, I'm going to kind of throw you out there. When I look at you running the business, very often you are running a lot. You are running a heck of a lot, and you're relying on your team to do this, and you're relying on your team to do this. I know you have apartment complexes. There's lots and lots of stuff going on, but sometimes I see a lack of structure in your business. And what I want to do is to bring that, help you bring a little, or should I say tighten the structure you already have. You do have good structure, but I think we can tighten it a little bit more. But the problem I see is that I think you're hard to duplicate. You're so hardworking, you're so good at what you do that you're a little bit of a rock star, and it's very hard to duplicate a rock star. So this system that we're going to really kind of fine-tune will really help your team be able to duplicate what you do. So I'm excited to do that. And all right, but I want to dive straight on in. So what I'd like to do first is my first question is, of course, do you have a written list?
Of course.
Fantastic. Have you scored it using the Erica system?
I have.
Fantastic. Correct answers. Well done. You win the prize behind door number 2. Okay, so obviously from that written list that you have, you've got 10 names that rose to the top, and you have, I would imagine, 10 names that are right there. And actually, I do know that some of these names are people that have been people you've approached before. So this is kind of a cool call because we've got some... Michelle's been in the business a little while, and when she first got started, she blew through her list. And in some cases, when people start the business and they blow through their list at the beginning because they're so enthusiastic, they don't do it right. And they can really turn people off, or, people think you've just joined a cult or whatever, just because you're not sophisticated. It's like anything when you first start in your business. So this week is going to be really good for people who have worked on their written list and they've gone through some names. Those names that have been close to you, maybe old school friends or work colleagues that you've already spoken to about the business, and you think, you know what, gosh, I really blew that. I could have done it so much better. And I know Michelle has a few names on in these 10 that include that, and I did ask her for that specifically because I think it'll be a great training opportunity for everybody who's on this call, and especially, please listen to the accountability calls that I'm going to be doing with Michelle during the week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which I will be recording and will be up on our Facebook page. Again, for those who are new, please become members of our Facebook page because this call and every accountability call that I'm going to do with Michelle during the week will be on that Facebook page. Look for EC Riders. So that's EC, which is the acronym for Executive Consultant, and then new word, Riders, RIDERS. Request to be a member, and I will acknowledge that, and you'll become a member. And then look each day for the call that will be recorded, and we'll have it on there. And on those calls, we will be very much dealing with calling people we've already spoken to and we blew it first time round. So I took a little bit of time there, but I do want people to know what to expect this week. It's going to be a little bit different. I also know Michelle has a few business owners she wants to get to this week as well. So this week's going to be a real goodie, so make sure you listen to all of those recorded accountability calls. So, Michelle, with that, just give me a quick, I want to write the names down, so not too fast, but what are the 10 first names of the people you want to speak to, we want to prepare invites for?
Okay, Ralph, Melissa, Amy, Paul, Loretta, David, Kim, Christy, Eric, Jean, and Marianne Dooley.
Marianne what?
Oh, Marianne. Sorry. Marianne.
Okay. And Jean, is that a G-E-N-E or J-E-A-N?
Jean the woman, Jeanne.
Oh, okay. All right, good deal. Okay, all right, well, let's dive straight on in and let's work straight away with Ralph. And the things I want to know more than anything else is, Ralph, I want to know how old he is, whether he's married or not, how you know him, and if we've spoken to him before, bearing in mind what we're going to be looking at this week.
Yeah, Ralph is a guy I met. He was actually my son's, years ago, he was my son's lacrosse coach, and he had several businesses. He was originally from New York, had moved down here, opened a bagel shop, which wasn't very successful. He ended up shutting it down, and he had another business. It was, which I think he's still doing. It's some kind of a business where he goes and gives corporations discounts to eat at certain restaurants. So that there's some kind of relationship there between restaurants and corporations. I don't understand the whole thing, but I always thought he would be a great person in the business. But when I showed it to him, he's like, I've seen stuff like this, and it always looks good, but I just don't know. And that I think I'd been in the business like a month.
Right.
And so I really, I'm sure I was very, green.
Right. Okay, let me ask you this. How old is he?
Ralph is probably 55, maybe pushing 60.
Okay. Married?
Yes.
Grown kids?
Grown kids, yep.
Okay. Grandchildren, do you know?
No grandkids that I know of.
Okay. All right. So, so this is our first one. So I'm going to very briefly, each of our invites has a little bit of a structure to it. And remember, there could be a lot of stuff that I'm talking about here. If you are worried, this call will be recorded. I'll try and post it tonight on the EC Writers Facebook page, but if not, it will be there tomorrow for you to listen back to if you need to. When we create an invite, we try to stick to 5 rules. And the reason why we do that is not because we want to be rigid, but it's because once you become successful at this yourself, we want to make sure that you can duplicate it to new people yourself. And if you know that there are 5 rules to create an invite, then that'll help you help your folks, because this business makes money because it duplicates, not because you work hard. It's because you learn how to do it and show someone else how to do it. That's where the money is. And the 5 things that we work on is, number 1, being in a hurry. Number 2, using your why. Number 3, having a hook, i.e. adding a little bit of excitement. Number 4, a very big one, which is the takeaway. This may or may not be your cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. And then number 5, being really intentional on setting a time. Now, that may vary a little bit because we have a slightly different approach with some people we've already approached before, but that's a fundamental kind of approach. Being in a hurry, your why, the hook, the takeaway, and being intentional. But at the same time, there is one rule that rules them all, which is to be yourself. Every invite that we do, we always write them down, not because you're going to read them like a script, but because it gives you, you start on Monday with 10 names and 10 invites already written down there. You can read through the invite a few times so you know when you call someone, you've got the best opportunity to have them look at the business. And if you look at previous victims on this call, we're getting extremely high rates, conversion rates of people who are being invited and people who actually look. Last 2 victims, Dana and Christy, both had almost 100% records for invites to people looking at the business. And again, we just want them to look. We're not asking them to join. So based upon that, now you're pretty experienced in the business. Do you have any thoughts about how you think we could approach Ralph, Michelle?
Well, I was just going to approach him with basically, why don't we sit down at lunch and just chat, and I want to tell you how it's been going for me. I've had some success, and I'd really love for you to take another look. I really didn't do it justice the first time around. I was just too green.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's very much nailed it. If you've got someone you've spoken to before, then you've got 2 things on your side. First of all, the fact that when you first started, you didn't know what you're doing. And you say, look, when I first spoke to you, I didn't know what I was doing, and I certainly didn't give it justice. But as Michelle was saying, is what you can do is you can update people on what's been going on. But then to add to that is the phrase along the lines of, look, for example, Michelle, if I was asking you after, speaking to you maybe 2 years ago, the one thing I could say is, hey, Michelle, remember a couple of years ago I spoke to you about the AMBIT business? Well, I'm actually still doing it, and I've actually had a lot of success since I got started. First of all, I've promoted 3 times in the business. I've got myself through the 3 levels of promotion. I've also now got myself to a position where my bills are covered by my residual income, and it now out-earns my restaurant. So that's what I would say. Now, obviously, as an EC, I have quite a story, but everyone has a great story to be able to say to someone. So I'd say, and the other thing is also, AMBIT has grown from, when I spoke to you, from whatever it was, $650 million. We're now at nearly $1.5 billion in revenue. We've gone into Ohio. We're now in this state. And don't quote me on the states. I'm just picking them as examples. We're now in Maryland. We're now in Rhode Island. We're now in a bunch of states, which you may now know some people in. Also, Michelle, I know that things never stay the same. When I spoke to you 2 years ago, you were in a certain stage in life, and nothing ever stays the same. And it may be a situation where now it would be appropriate to take a look. So I wanted to get together with you to update you on everything that's going on, and for maybe you to have another look at the business to see if it actually now makes sense, because I can certainly present the business to you a lot better, but it's done so well for me. And so that's obviously very long-winded for the purposes of training, but that's pretty much what you were saying, Michelle. First of all, it's less important to be in a hurry because he knows you're probably going to talk to him about AMBIT, but I still would be in a hurry. So I'd be, hey, Ralph, I'm in a little bit of a hurry right now, but I've been meaning to give you a call about something. Do you have a moment? And that's then when I would say, look, a couple of years ago we spoke about AMBIT, and you had some reservations at the time. You were a little concerned that you've seen people who have done things like this and they've not actually made money or whatever. And you could say, well, I'm still doing the business 2 years later, and I've actually had a lot of success. In your case, Michelle, you've promoted twice in the business. You're regularly making checks a week with a comma in the check. And Ralph, when I spoke to you 2 years ago, I know that things change in life, and I think it may now be a good time to have another look at the business, especially bearing in mind you now know someone who's had success in the business. So I'm not sure. I'm still not sure if it's going to be your cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. But what are you doing after work on Wednesday at about 5 o'clock, and we can readdress the business again? So, Michelle, is that kind of making sense to you? Did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's probably exactly what I would say. Just exactly that way. Just because, like I said, the first time around, it just wasn't done very well.
Right. And that's perfectly okay. And I think people will understand that. I think as long as you have the number 4, the takeaway, and that you're not being pushy in any way, it's going to get a quick answer. I mean, at the end of the day, we are in a situation where they do know what it is. They have said no once. So let's get real. It is what it is. But how many people, you consultants who've heard people speak, like Richard and Mary Amwedo, Kevin Cochran, Lynn Wynn, who did not say yes first time they saw the business. They had to see it a couple of times. Sometimes they knew about it for a year. I think Ray Monty even took 7 months before he said yes. So I think it's a perfectly good, legitimate way of going back to people you've already spoken to about the business, and with a much more mature, much more controlled invite that's talking about, I spoke to you before, I messed it up first time around. This is what's happened in my business for me. I've promoted twice. I'm making this amount of money. I've quit my job, or whatever your result has been. AMBIT also has grown from this revenue at the time when I spoke to you up to, it's more than doubled in revenue, and now we were the number 30, the 36th largest direct sales company when I spoke to you. We're now number 12. We're now in 11 more states when I spoke to you. There's even talk about possibly at some point maybe going international. This company's going crazy. I think it might be time for you to maybe take another look. That's quite an invite. I think that's pretty powerful. And I think if you listen back to this call and you're able to shorten it for sure, I know these invites are too long, but take that information. I think that's a really good way of inviting someone to have another look when you've already spoken to them before. So that's what I would do with Ralph.
Okay. Fantastic.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So who's next? Melissa.
The next one is Melissa. Her and her husband, we know them from baseball because, of course, our life revolves around baseball, my boys.
Right.
Her and her husband own a payroll company, and they're very successful as far as I can tell. But I do know that they spend a lot of hours at their business. She's been a customer for years, not of mine, but of someone else's. And so I know she knows about the business. I haven't ever shown her a presentation, but I would really like to get in front of her and just have it. I think, she knows what it is and she's been a customer. She just has never shown any interest.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts about how you'd like to approach her? Or are you kind of hoping I'll tell you?
No, I was kind of just going to call her and see if she wanted to get together for lunch and catch up with the kids. I probably haven't seen her in, at least 6 months. And I was really going to go at it more of the angle from, I was wondering if you could help me with my business. I know you know a lot of people. Can you maybe really take a look at what this is, and then if you know people that you could recommend to me?
I think you've got a couple of ways you can do this. First of all, you haven't seen her for 6 months. Are you good enough friends to just go have lunch together anyway and not talk about business?
Yes.
Okay. You could go on the 2-meeting approach. Remember, we're patient in our AMBIT business. We're not trying to rush through the numbers. This girl and her husband are entrepreneurial and very successfent. And when you look at the really big earners in AMBIT that fly through the business, they tend to be people who have quite an entrepreneurial bent to their business, or certainly their skill set. So one approach could be a 2-level or a 2-time approach where you just go and have lunch with her and just sit and listen to her pain, if she has any, and just to have a girls' lunch together and see if there's any pain there. She may be saying, well, business has been a bit quiet, or I really wish, how old are these guys?
Hello?
Michelle, how old are they?
They're
Hello?
my age. Yes, I can hear you. I don't know.
Okay.
You dropped off there for a second.
Okay.
They're about my age. I would say they're 29. No, they're probably in their late 40s, like me.
So maybe thinking about retirement. Retirement's on the horizon, but kind of there.
Yes.
I think I would go one of 2 approaches. As I say, one is a 2 meeting where the first one is just some lunch and listen to see how life's going. And then a second meeting, depending on how well that was, invite her to have a look at the business. Or you can go for a direct approach. She's been your customer for X amount of time. And if I was going to go more direct, I'd be, hey, Melissa, Michelle here. I'm in a little bit of a hurry right now. I've got to go and pick up Ryan from whatever it is, or whatever your reason for being in a hurry is. But there's something I need to talk to you about. Do you have a moment? And then she'll hopefully say yes and say, well, as you know, you've been my customer for in my AMBIT business for a couple of years. And first of all, thank you so much for your loyalty. It really means a lot to me. But during the time that you've been my customer, this thing that was originally quite a small part-time plan B for me has really grown into something quite substantial. And in your case, Michelle, I'm now full-time, and it's been very, very successful for me. But I've reached a certain level in my business where I now need to launch to another level. Like most businesses, they go through levels. And it's very much a situation where I need to network with other successful individuals. And Melissa, I'd like to get together with you to kind of show you how my business works for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I'd really appreciate your professional opinion. I really would. You and your husband have been very successful in the payroll business, and you've got a lot of knowledge, and you have grown to that next level, and I'd really be interested to see what that is. But secondly, we're a similar age, and we're both looking towards retirement. Our business, this business I'm doing, is very much residual based, but also recession proof. And I would like you to take a look at it as a potential plan B for you to do alongside your current business, because it's something that could be certainly replace that income and would be a residual type business. So again, I don't know if it's going to be your cup of tea, but I'd like you to look at the model and see if it makes sense. So what are you doing for lunchtime on Thursday? Or I know Friday's probably a better day for you, whatever you're saying, but would that type of approach work for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think it might just be easier to be honest with you. Maybe not neither, but maybe a mix of just, hey, let's get together. Want to get together and just see how you're doing. And I also want to have a business meeting and do a little bit of networking.
Okay, but at some point
I'm sorry.
But I was going to say, at some point, we want to have her look at the video and have a look at the business.
Right.
So if you're going to get together to do some networking, a general kind of a sort of a chat, I'm okay with that, to just kind of get a feel for where she's at. But at some point, you want her to look at the business because you want her professional opinion. You want her to be able to refer you to other professionals like yourself who may find this interesting as a plan B. And thirdly, that you want her to consider it as a plan B alongside what she's currently doing. I don't think you should apologize for that. I think it would be, she's absolutely worth it, her and her husband, and I would go for it. And I would go for it and make the appointment where she's going to look at the business with one of those three goals in mind. And if you do it with posture, you do it with the obviously the success you've had, I think she would give you the time to take a look. And again, that's all we're asking you to do, is take a look.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do then.
Okay, cool. But I definitely would go for more than just a network meeting. I would, by all means, do it in two halves. The first meeting being one where you find out what's going on in her life, and then a second meeting to say, I really enjoyed our lunch the other day, but and it kind of dawned on me. I don't know why I didn't mention it at the dinner time, but there's something I want to talk to you about, and then you could invite her then, knowing what her current situation is. Or, as I say, we can, if you don't want to do it in two halves, we can just go straight for it, and going for the professional opinion, networking opportunity, other people looking at potentially being business partners for you, and maybe them looking at it as a potential plan B for themselves. I think there's nothing wrong with a direct, honest approach.
Okay.
I do understand business people are a little harder to do, and she may give you a flat no, and that's perfectly okay, because we've already said it may or may not be your cup of tea, but if someone like her gets it, then you've got a potential EC in your business.
Right.
And we like that. All right, so who have we got next? Amy.
Okay, Amy is a baseball mom. We had an interesting conversation actually today or yesterday about her son who's in college and he's taking business and entrepreneurship at Baylor. And I after we had left yesterday, I thought, that was really stupid. I should have asked her if I could get in touch with her son. Because if he's learning about how to be an entrepreneur, what a better way to learn than have real life experience.
Sure.
And it's something go ahead.
Well, I mean, you may get a route to him through her, but I definitely would give her the opportunity to look, because, again, that was the way I was brought into the business. Right. The person who brought me in actually said they wanted to show my son the business, but wanted my opinion first, which was quite brilliant, because he knew I wouldn't usually look at a business like this. But because it was for my son, of course, I could be the big businessman and give my opinion. But it was once I saw it, I realized what a great opportunity it was, and I was in and I recruited my son. So I would definitely go for baseball mom. What else do you know about her personally, other than her son being in college?
I don't see any pain. She stays at home. She teaches a few classes at the gym. They seem very well to do. I don't see any pain. I know she has two other kids. One is, Roman's age that we play ball with, is 12. The other one is going to be a junior in high school. A senior next year. So she'll have two in college. But they seem to be very well off. I don't know what her husband does, but she definitely does not seem like she's lacking for anything. Okay. And that's why it was almost, and she's very much a what I would call a helicopter parent. And so,
what's a helicopter parent? I've never heard that expression.
Very much hovers over their children, watches everything that they do. And that's why I thought it might just be a better approach to just go through her.
I would not apologize for. Is there anything you can compliment her about? Is she kind of real bubbly? Is she real friendly? Is she the type that you know lots of people? Great. Okay. Yeah. So lots of ability to be able to compliment her. So I would have no problem asking her to take a look at the business first, and as a fallback, you've got her son. Now, is she a customer or anything? Does she know you're in AMBIT at all, or anything?
No, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I definitely think the approach is the same thing the way you were approached. I would like to get your opinion because I think I could show it. I would like to share it with your son.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I would definitely give her a call. Say, hey, Amy, this is Michelle. I'm in a little bit of a hurry right now. I'm just about to go and whatever it is you're going to be doing, but there's something I need to talk to you about. Do you have a moment? And she'll say, yes, whatever. And you could lead with your why and say, my husband and I have been in situations where, we've had great jobs and been laid off. And so a few years back, I started a business project that's going really well in the DFW. And personally, for me, it's done really well. I've actually been able to become full-time in this business right now, and it's working really, really well for me. I wanted to actually ask you if I could take you for a cup of coffee, because I'd love you to take a look at what I'm doing for a couple of reasons. First reason is, first of all, I'd like you to know what I'm doing because I need networking is what my business is all about. I need to meet new people and new folks. And obviously, you know people I don't know. So I'd love you to take a look and to see if you could refer my business. But secondly, I know your son is at college looking at entrepreneurship, and this could be something that would really, really work very well for him, as it's a very, very low cost of entry, a low risk of entry, and it'd be something that he could build for himself. And hey, I don't know, Amy, it may even be something that you and your husband would like to do because there's very much a residual element, and it's also a recession-proof business. That last part is you can put in or not. That's up to you. But then I would literally go, listen, it may or may not be yours or your son's cup of tea. And that's perfectly fine, Amy. What's most important to me is that you know what I'm doing, just because, that's the nature of business. What are you doing on, and then I'd go for the close. I would absolutely close it down. Does that work for you?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's perfectly right. And again, for those of you who are new on the call, you'll notice, number one, I was in a hurry. Number two, I went for Michelle's why, which is, her and her husband have had great jobs but have been laid off and we're looking for more secure plan Bs and obviously looking towards retirement. So there was the second item. The third item, the hook. This business is doing really well in the Dallas area. In fact, it's being done so well for me, I've actually been able to come full-time in the business. So there's the hook. Number four was, listen, Amy, it may or may not be your thing. May or may not be your son's thing, and that's perfectly fine. And then we had the intentional close. But what are you doing after work on Friday? Or if the week is difficult for you, we could meet at the weekend. So there are the 5 things. And again, for those of you who are listening to this call, please be proactive. Be working your invites along with us and use those rules as a guide to be able to do it. These are high level. These are all good people that Michelle's going to be approaching, and all potentially very, very good for the business. So, I think there's a great opportunity there for all of them. So, again, this call is recorded. Go back and listen to it. Break down your invites for it. But remember, always write your invite down so you're ready and prepared for when you make the invite. Okay, let's move on for another one. What have we got?
Paul.
Okay,
this is really
about
interesting. Paul it's actually my husband's life insurance representative, and we've got a very large policy. It's actually not that large. I should say expensive, not necessarily large.
Right.
Because we're not exactly spring chickens anymore. Neither are we in very good shape. And so we've bought this ridiculously expensive policy for years, and I've actually never even met him. But I have a little bit of a, and I'm sure Christy Taylor can tell you this as well, I get a little burr in my saddle when I'm someone's customer and they are not mine.
Yeah.
Because I think it should be a mutual relationship. And it would really be a almost completely cold call to call him and see if he would take a look at the business.
Right, and I agree. But you're obviously impressed enough with him to give him your business.
Yes. He was referred to us by our financial planner.
Okay. All right. So what are your thoughts?
It basically was going to be a very business-like call. You know, it was going to be with the 5 elements. Hey, Paul, this is Michelle Shaffer. My husband has had a policy with you for years, and we also own our own business. And I was wondering if we could get together, maybe Tuesday or Thursday. I would love for you to take a look at what we're doing. It won't take but 15 or 20 minutes, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's very much it. I would have a little bit more in there. I think I would use, first of all, yes, it is business to business. I like that, and that makes it more of an appointment type scenario. It's a little different than, he's got a business with a bunch of network of people. You've got a business with a bunch of network of people, and I would talk about synergy. I would say that there's synergy in our business because you know a bunch of people. And in my business, I know a bunch of people. I know what you do. I would like to be in a position where I could refer you. I would like you to be in a position where you could refer me. That's kind of where I would go, a little bit of give and take. So, because at the end of the day, what's the goal? The goal is for him to look at our business. He will then make his mind up as to whether he thinks it's a good idea for him to do or not. We're not going to talk him into it. We just want him to look. So there's almost a ploy to it. I don't want it to sound like it's deceitful. It certainly is not. But with someone like him, I guarantee he goes to network meetings, mixers. He looks for all sorts of opportunities to get access to more people. You want to get access to more people. I would make it a business-to-business, synergistic appointment. So it's a little bit different. So it's very professional. I'd like to set some time to get together for an appointment with you. If obviously, hey, this is Michelle. You don't even necessarily need to be in a hurry. But out of practice, I would just to get into the habit of always doing it, but it's not necessary. But certainly practice by saying, hey, Paul, this is Michelle Shaffer. You know my husband, and we have a policy with you, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to actually make a business appointment with you because our two businesses are very synergistic. And I think that I certainly would be able to help you with networking with a lot more people. My business is doing very well. I've reached a certain plateau in my business, and I need to make another step forward. And part of that is actually creating more opportunities for networking. And obviously, our types of businesses, that's what we do. So that's why I want to get together. When's a good time for us to meet? I don't know if it's before lunch or after, but I would make it a daytime, business-to-business appointment based upon synergy. And the synergy being he wants to know people, you want to know people, but at the end of the day, he has to look at your business in order to be able to refer you. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'm not sure we have time for. I've got anything that you think would be quick, or we can do some more invites during the week. In fact, that's what we're going to do. I don't like to rush at the end of the call. So we've got some. Most important thing is you've got 4 people to be able to speak to tomorrow. 4 invites to be able to make. What time do you want to be able to do? Well, we'll talk about that afterwards, but obviously we need to arrange a very specific time when you call me with an update on how the invites went. But also on that call, we'll get a couple more invites done, okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Was there any other questions? Or see, the thing is that you and I work together so often every day anyway. You know a lot of what I'm doing. But bearing in mind the number of folks who are listening to this call, are there any points you wanted to add or any questions you had that you think would be a benefit to those folks who are brand new MCs and RCs in the business, and maybe other people who are accountability partners for new consultants? Have you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I think we all, I don't know if everyone realizes this, but I think we all have chicken lists. No matter what part of your business that you're in, we all have chicken lists. And I know, I definitely have a few people on this list that are on my chicken list. I look at it and I'm like, I don't know why they're on my chicken list. They're not smarter than me or better than me, so I'm not really sure. It's just a weird thing. And the other thing is, I absolutely want people to know that when a lot of us first started this business, I totally blew through my warm list. I mean, I really had lots and lots of names, and I remember there was a month I showed Merriam-Webster on my calendar and said, I showed the business 14 times this month and no one joined my business. And that was because I just was not doing it right. Mm-hmm. I just was not polished. And so, it's the whole point of these calls and this purge is so that we don't want anybody else to have to do that. We don't want to see people burn through the list. We want to show, we don't want you to make the same mistakes that we've made if you don't have to, because we know better.
Yeah, I agree. The 2 points you brought up there are brilliant. First of all, the chicken list. That's the one list that we avoid the most, but the irony is that that's the list that are full of the ECs in our business, because they're chicken lists for a reason. You think they're so successful they may not want to look, which is absolutely incorrect. It's a prejudgment that is just not right. And the reason why this works so well is because there's still going to be a little bit of nerves when you call your chicken list, but when you've prepared an invite that is really perfect, really geared well, it's written down, it's focused, you can't get dragged into a presentation because you were in a hurry on the call, you're professional and give them a way out because of the takeaway, then everyone can get a call. Every one of your chicken lists can get a call to give them the opportunity to become one of your ECs. And I completely agree. And I think your point about this purge call giving people who are brand new in the business the opportunity not to blow through their list and mess it all up is a wonderful opportunity. I again, like you, I know I blew through a bunch of people when I first got started because I was too salesy. I actually did have success in bringing people in my business, but completely unduplicatable. And so I had people join my business and quit. And so it was no better than your situation, Michelle. You had people look at the business and not join. I had people look at the business and join, and then I didn't know how to train them properly because it wasn't done right. And so this purge call, for those of you who are new on this call, do plug into this structure. We're going to give you all the help and advice you need to create great invites for your people on your list, whether they're on the chicken list, whether they're your mom or your brother or just someone you don't know too well. You're going to get all of those opportunities to listen to invites on these calls. So very good points there, Michelle. Michelle, we're 2 minutes to 9, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for getting on the call and allowing me to victimize you this week.
I do it all the time.
No, you're a glutton for punishment, but we'll have a lot of fun during the week. Michelle and I will be doing accountability calls every day this week. Everyone will be recorded on the Facebook page, so please make sure you listen to them because they are actually going to have a lot more actual, real, valuable coaching and training because we will have had things go right and things go wrong on those calls, and we'll deal with them. So make sure you get to listen to those calls. So guys, make sure you prepare your week with your 10 invites. Make sure you have your 10 names down. Make sure you allocate time in your calendars, please. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody, but I am going to make sure that you get onto the national